This is kind of what inspired. This is actually the first thing that inspired my little Christmas takes from this morning. Oh, just ignore my little cute reindeer there. And it's just a simple little sketch, and I was kind of goofing around yesterday morning early on, and I made just a copy of that palm tree and the kind of the little, it's not a manger scene, it's just actually, you know, it just reminds me of the stable, and I don't know that that really looks like a stable in Bethlehem or Jerusalem, but that's okay. So here is where we are going to start our takes. Of course, I already have glue on stuff. Why doesn't that surprise any of us? Let's get started. The first thing I did was I put a little bit of gesso, as you know, on each of these, and then I put a little bit of white paint on each of them, and that way I can apply the paint. And I'm only going to do 2 tags, not going to do all 4 of these, but I did put a little white paint and gesso on these 2, just so that if you wanted to, you could use something like this that's pre-made rather than recycling your boxes, which is what I did here. So the first thing I am going to do here is I am going to move my little piece of artwork so I don't get it messy. I'm going to put a little bit of this paint on each one. This is just Blick brand that I use all the time. It's blue, violet, light, and then this is not my favorite Blick brand, but it's going to have to do for right now because it's what I have. It is this really pretty greenish color, light greenish color that I like so much, and that's probably enough for both takes, so I'm going to see if that'll, if I can just use that on both of them. A little too much of that. Little too much of that. Okay, so that's it. That's all the background I need on those. Quick, right? Quick and easy. Then I'm going to actually set those aside for a couple minutes. Wash my hands here in my water. And then I just got a new pen for drawing with, and this is a, let me see if I can show it to you. This is a Faber-Castell Pitt artist pen, and I just picked it up yesterday, and I wasn't actually quite sure if it would react like my favorite microns. So I did do 2 ahead of time just to make sure that if the ink started to blur and stuff that we could default to these. I may default to those anyway. And when I made my little sketch in my sketchbook, you know, I started off doing some pine trees, and that just, you know, especially since we're in Florida right now, that just kind of makes me laugh down here because, you know, I don't know that there were a whole lot of pine trees over in Bethlehem. So I'm keeping some pine trees because for all my friends that are still back in Minnesota, and I'm actually going to do 2 pine trees. Now the thing, somebody actually pointed out to me that, you know, the branches at the top of a pine tree actually point up. And I think so often we just get used to that triangle shape and want to do it that way, but just a little heads up. Their little things on the end really do go up. And I get carried away with my scribbling, so by the time you kind of maybe can't tell it's a pine tree, but I can tell it's a pine tree. It will be after we get some color into it. And then what I'm going to do is just put a star up here. I like to make kind of little dancing stars, kind of remind you of that night, that Christmas night. And what I'm calling these is Oh Holy Night, so I am going to put that on here too. Oh Holy Night. Okay, and then on the second one, I want to make a palm tree, which I think are way more prevalent over in Bethlehem. And at the top of a palm tree is pretty, it's the leaves, fronds, whatever you want to call it, are pretty different than a pine tree, although now that I'm drawing it here, I'm thinking, gosh, not quite as different as I thought, but sometimes there's some going in back, I'm thinking. And then the shape from there on down, though, is very distinctive. And if you I'm sorry, I have noticed some of the palm trees around here, and they actually have, you know, little parts where the palm fronds have broken off. So that just really helps make it look like a palm tree, doesn't it? If we put those on, I'll put a little shadow, because that, yeah, because that's how that goes. And then I love this little house thing over here, and that's my little stable. It just reminds me of a stable, and obviously this is not where it's not going to end up being colored in quite that extensively. And I do want to keep it simple. So there is our stable. Yeah, I'll put just a little roof line on that side too. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. I'm going to make a little star. Keep it a little wacky because that's the way I like them. And then put, again, Oh Holy Night. And you know what? Obviously, you can put anything you want on yours. In my quiet time, that was what came to me. All right, there we go. That is it for that part of the take. And then I'm going to take some Inktense pencils. I introduced those last week, so I'm not going to introduce them so much this week. You can go and take a look at them if you like. So just to show these to you up a little bit closer, yeah, there we are. I want some green on there. This actually looks like green, but it's a very pretty gold color. So I'm going to take that one out of my little box. We probably want a little blue. It's nighttime, so we don't want it to be super light in the background, but that's kind of my go-to shadow pencil, so I do want that one a little bit sharper. And Inktense pencils are just the coolest thing. They are made out of ink. As I mentioned last week, they're made out of ink, and so I'm just going to lightly, I'm not going to do it too heavily because this is pretty dramatic, the colors that are in here. And I want some blue, especially around my star, otherwise my star is going to get lost up there. So see how I'm kind of leading your eye down and through that? Let's get some green now. I often put a little highlight in some of my green, or you can do that with the lighter green too. And then this actually color green, this lighter color green is going to be my highlights on that side. Because palm trees I think of as being a little more olive and a little darker. And there's actually a color in here that's called, not leaf green, I have some other things here sitting on top of my pencils. So, okay, so the teal green is just a real pretty darker green, so I'm going to put some of that down below there. on that tree. And then remember this one that looks like green, which is actually a goldish color. See, isn't that deceiving? I don't know. I don't know. It's a mystery. Put some of that in there. And my my stable, I know a stable in Jerusalem and in Bethlehem was probably not white, but that's what it's going to be. I am going to show just some light and bright coming out of there, coming out of the stable, because that's what it's all about, right? So my orange and yellow there, and what color should the roof be? I think this. Kind of a dark purplish. And that will probably extend down. Now, here's the beauty, and what makes me nervous about working with a new pen is once I take my water brush, this is a water brush, if you're not using a permanent marker, that is going to smear if you have your water up close to it. So this it's just filled with water. It's the coolest thing, and especially for travel too. I do always keep either a paper towel or a rag. I have a rag on my lap too. See how easy that is. And you know, in terms of sketching, I am going to approach that in a workshop that I'm putting together for next year. It's a pretty intense workshop that I'm going to be talking about composition as part of it, and color is part of it, and then sketching is part of it. Kind of the foundational ingredients for doing art. And you can do a lot without the, you know, especially some of the techniques that I've been playing with this past year with stencils and with a little bit more abstract art. That's certainly pretty abstract on the front of those journals, isn't it? This is going to turn green because it's both yellow and blue, but that's okay. Let's just now go into my trees. And you know, it's just a quick little thing. I'm not being careful at all with smearing this ink around. It's really fun because you don't have to be super careful with it. I thought of putting a manger scene with the a manger with the evergreens, and that just sounded really cold for baby Jesus, so we didn't do that. And lastly, I'm going to just do these little trunks. Just smear that beautiful gold color. I do really like that gold color. Okay, I am liking it. I am liking it. Let's get that dark roof in there on that house. Oh, I didn't do the other side of it, did I? That little sneaky part coming out the other side, but we can sure do that quick. Now the last part of that coloring in, I'm going to leave just a little blue down here just to make it look maybe like a little snow. I didn't really put snow on the pine trees, but for those of you up north, or maybe if anybody is by any chance in North Dakota, I heard they got kind of blasted. And then I'm going to take one of my favorite, told you that, where'd I put it? Here it is, my deep indigo, which is my favorite. And I'm going to just make some shadows underneath. It's a teeny little card, so I'm not going to need a whole lot of shadows, but just a little bit. Oh, I don't have my foreground there, which I think I would like not only that green, but a little bit of this gold down here too. All right, so I took my indigo and put it there, and I want, you know what, I want it just below my star here too. I'm going to highlight my letters a little bit on this one, see if I like it. And then here again, I'm going to just highlight my tree by putting some dark underneath the leaves. Oh my gosh, I just love to sketch, you know. Sometimes you just can't find the perfect picture, and sketching just works. All right, so see how that makes that pop by putting that shadow there? And I'm leaving that white light spot right there because that'll pop that tree, even though it isn't really the most important thing. I'm going to put a little shadow right down here in my house too, to pop my house a little bit. My little stable. I should call it a stable at least. And I was going to try that over here first, wasn't I? And then I just got a little overexcited. It's okay. Thank you for joining me on these lives. This is just really fun, and I don't know what they'll turn into or if I'll keep on doing them after the first of the year, but I have certainly enjoyed it. So if you enjoy these, please leave a comment down below. Please let me know. Please share it with your friends. All right, that is it. That's all I'm going to do on that little tag. And then the next part, oh, you know what? I'm sorry, I lied. I am going to just highlight the Oh Holy Night part just a little bit with just a little yellow. Just a touch. In addition to my shadows. I do like my shadows there because it does really pop. It does really pop those letters out just a little bit. So we are done with that. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to now lay these two to the side, bring my backgrounds back here, and I'm going to put just a little stenciling in the back there, in the background. All right, where's the little piece of paper that I can use to put my paint on? I'll just put it right on my acrylic. That'll work just fine. I like using paper though because I so often use those papers in something else. So this is just a little circle stencil that I made. But you can buy them at, you know, Joann's or Michael's or whatever the case may be. I'll put a couple over here too. And I just want a little darker color on that background so that when we glue this on top, not much of it will show, but I'll know what's back there. There you go. Too funny, huh? All right, so I'm not going to bother doing in the middle for that same reason that that my tag was going to cover it up, most of it up anyway, and that's exactly where I'm going to put my tags. I'm going to tear off the bottom, although that is where you can write who the gift is to. You can just say, to the love of my life. How does that sound? To Mr. Randy, the love of my life. Although, in all honesty, he already got his Christmas present, and do we know what that is? Of course, it's a new grill. Of course, we would get him something that he would use, and that would have to do with kitchen and food. So, there you go. I think that's a great size. I'm going to move it down just even a little bit so that we can see a little bit of that paint up there. And this one is a little bit better sized. I'm still going to rip just a little bit of this top off go. If you didn't see the first two Christmas takes, you might want to go back and view those. The first one, sorry, a little distracted here. The first one we did fun stuff with this cute little reindeer. You can see that. And then last week we just made this pretty little heart. I actually think I might make it through all four of them using just Kraft backgrounds. And for those of you who weren't around for the first one, these are off my Amazon boxes. So to make this stand out even just a little bit more, I am going to take a purple ink pad and I'm going to just lightly grunge up the sides of it. And remember that I did that on the inside of this too. On this dream journal that we're making in January, I did that on the sides of the pages too. Isn't that kind of cool? I think that's super cool. All right, so now we're ready to glue that on there. And you know, I'm not going to take a chance on that paint being still wet, so I'm going to move these over to the side while I put glue on the back of these. And I am simply using, my glue stick, which is somewhere here. Simply using a glue stick. I had to buy Elmer's to replace this yesterday because I think this is almost out, and that was, yeah, good lesson. Hold both sides of your take while you're putting the glue on. Anyway, I bought an Elmer's Extreme Stick, so you'll be finding out how well that works at some future date. This really is my favorite because it goes on blue and you can see if you have the edges and stuff, which is just, oh, so helpful. All right, so we'll bring this over here, put you down on here. Oh my gosh, I am just so loving these. And you know what, if you don't consider yourself good at sketching, first of all, you probably just need a little practice. And second of all, you can just go find a picture in a catalog or in a magazine or something and use that. And where is my little favorite gluer? All right, those are all glued on. All right, so final step, we're going to put just a little hole in the top. You can do that or not. Oh, a little thick going through that cardboard, but I like putting just a little doodad on the top. And then I have two choices here. I have just some funky ribbon that I have, which seems a little summery, even though it's warm here. So I think I'm going to use my good old Sari ribbon, I think it's called. And you know, I wish I had some dark purple, but I don't. So this is pretty close. Let's just measure some of that out. This is made by women in India. You can find it on Amazon. You can also get it Darn Good Yarn, I guess. Oh, there it is, Darn Good Yarn, and that supports women in India. They make it out of old garments that are worn out and people don't use anymore. Pretty fun story. And I got that idea from Robin Marie Smith. If you've never checked out her artwork, oh my gosh, fabulous. And we are just about done here. All right, so that is it. Almost, as soon as I get my fingers. All right, what do you think? I hope you like them. I have no idea if I'm holding these right. I hope you like them. I hope that you'll try them either by yourself or with your kids, either one. I do want to thank you for joining me this morning. Please, as I mentioned at the beginning, please comment below. I love reading those and I will respond to them as we're finished. And please share this too if you enjoyed it. And until next week when we'll have our final and fourth tag morning on Thursday morning, just have a very blessed week, an abundantly blessed week. Take a breath, take some time to create because it does truly revive your soul. And this is Sue Chemnitz signing off from Inspiration to Implementation.